Hello, thanks for watching this video. This is a pre-lease video. Before you come into Fusion Realty, we'd like you to watch this video in its entirety. It's made up of 3 parts. We'd like you to watch the whole video from beginning to end. This is designed to save you time and to answer as many of your questions that you may have prior to coming in. You're very welcome when you come into our office to sign the lease agreement to read and ask questions at that stage. However, we have found it of great benefit if you can just read and watch this video. The Fusion Realty website, you're probably on that already, that's why you are watching this video. I'd like you to go to our lease application frequently asked questions page. Down the bottom you'll find a heading which says pre-lease page. Just click on this and there you'll find copies of all the documents that you will be completing and signing when you come into our office. Right, we'll move on and get on with the video. So the first thing that we've got is we've got copies of 2 lease agreements. One copy is yours and one copy will be ours. Part of the lease agreement are what are called condition reports. This explains what we think might be wrong with the property, or there might be marks on the carpet or on the walls, things like that. 2 copies you will take when you've signed the lease agreement, and we will keep 1 copy. These condition reports have to be signed because they do make up part of the lease agreement. Because you're signing them, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're agreeing with the condition of the property. What happens is you've actually got 7 days from when the lease commences to complete your copy of the condition report and mark down anything that you think needs to be brought to our attention or the landlord's attention. For example, if we've missed the mark on the carpet or there's a hook on the wall which we haven't marked down, you can note that on your copy, and then you can scan and email that copy back to us. You can fax it back to us, and those numbers and email addresses are actually on the condition reports. Or if you're unable to do that, the 3rd copy is so that you can actually post it back to us. I'm going to start going through the lease agreement now. On the front page you'll find the landlord's name. You'll also find our office details here. You'll also find all the tenants' details. Now each tenant has a number, so when you see your name on the lease agreement, it's important that you remember what number you are. For example, this one here has got a tenant in position 1, so he's tenant 1. Sometimes we'll have 3 tenants, so it will have tenant 3, so you might be listed as tenant 3. Down below it has the legal address of the property, below that. Further down it has the mobile number that we can contact you, and then further down it has our details again, and it also lists our website address. What's important about our website is you'll find many things that you'll probably need during your tenancy. For example, if you've got a repair which is non-urgent, you go to our website and go to the contact part. In the contact part you will find tenant repairs. There you just choose the type that you think it might be: electrical, plumbing, lock, or whichever one it is. Complete the online form and then click submit. When you click submit, it comes up with the tradesperson's phone number, so you can actually ring them direct and make a time for them to come around. The tradespeople really like this system because they get to talk to you and they can actually work out what's the best way to get into the property, when you're going to be available, and thirdly, what is wrong with it, how urgent the the repair is. So they'll do their best to accommodate you and to make that appointment. This should be the end of part 1. So this is the start of part 2. So also on this front page of the lease agreement, down the bottom, you have the number of weeks that the lease is for. It can be 26 weeks, 52 weeks. Sometimes there's a variance depending on what time of the year it is. It can be 30 weeks. So that's normally discussed at the time of application, before your application is approved. And the dates from when the lease commences and when it ends. On page 2, it gives a lot of detail on the first half of that page on how you've got to pay your rent. What's very important is that there is an ID number which is halfway down. Normally this ID number will be the last 6 digits of the mobile phone number which is listed on page 1. That ID number identifies you in the property. Unfortunately, if there's multiple tenants in a property, there is no such thing as split payments. Everybody has to use the same ID number because we receipt the rent to the property address, not to the individual tenant. That's the same with all real estate agents. The next part down on page 2, it has the bond amount. Now, with the bond, there is a form like this which will be it's also available on the website if you'd like to have a look at it. That will be filled out by us, and we just need you to all sign it on the tenant signature part down there. Now we have up to 5 weeks to lodge these with the Rental Bond Board. However, when you pay your bond to us, we will give you a trust account receipt, so that makes me personally liable for your bond money. So if your bond money is not lodged, I'm the one who gets into trouble. I guarantee it's going to be lodged because I don't want any headaches. Now further down under the bond information, we have other important information. It talks about the number of people who may stay in the property. Alright, so if it's a 1-bedroom unit, this will normally be 2 people, or a studio unit. Further down it has urgent repairs. Now this is very important. Urgent repairs are repairs similar to an emergency, like a hot water service that bursts and there's water flowing all over the floor, or an electrical fitting which might be broken and you can actually stick your finger inside the electrical components and get electrocuted. That's urgent. It's a safety concern. Or a toilet that might be blocked up and overflowing all over the floor. And that's a health issue. Should any one of those things happen, then that's an emergency or an urgent repair. You may call the numbers there for those tradespeople to come out immediately to assist you. If your hot water just stops working and there's no water leaks, it's not an emergency. It's annoying, but that type of repair, you just have to go onto our website and log it as an everyday repair. But remember, when you do that, you will get the plumber's phone number and you'll be able to call them and expedite the process anyway. So further down, with water usage, you'll note that you're not being charged for water usage. This is typically how it is with all of our tenants. However, landlords do consider this when your lease comes up for renewal. So it's very important that if you've got a leaking tap or you've got some issue, that you make sure that you get it repaired. Do not let the water bill get excessive because the landlords will know, and it's very unlikely that we will renew the lease. The next one down is called strata bylaws. If your property is a strata title property, then we have to attach the strata bylaws in the lease agreement, regardless of whether the property is strata titled or not. All Fusion Realty lease agreements have strata title bylaws in them. These are also standard strata bylaws which you'll find on the New South Wales government websites in law. So So we haven't made these are what's on the New South Wales government websites. After that it goes down to condition reports. On the condition reports it just talks about how they make up part of the lease agreement and how they need to be signed. And the very bottom paragraph gives you the version of this lease. This lease agreement is the 2010 version provided by Department of Fair Trading. So it's the very latest lease agreement. Over the page on page 3, this is where Department of Fair Trading's standard lease agreement starts. And you'll notice that this one's also been initialed down the bottom. Every page of our lease agreements needs to be initialed. So what happens here is I'm going to let you read this. As I said, there's a copy of this draft lease agreement on our website. Please have a look at it. This is a stock standard lease agreement from page 3, and it goes right through until page 9. Page 9 looks like this. So pages 3 to 9, they are a standard Department of Fair Trading lease agreement. Now, from the next pages on, you'll find that there is notes from Fair Trading, which points out definitions and things that is contained in this lease agreement. And after that, on page 11, is the additional terms, which all these additional terms basically have come from the Real Estate Institute, which is a real estate industry body. So what I'd like to point out to you is the additional terms from 52 to the end of 58. So these are contained on page 12 and page 13. So 52 states, in the avoidance of doubt, that you must pay the rent in advance. Also says that you have inspected the property when you've been through the open for inspection or the appointment and you're happy with its condition. That you've been given a copy of the condition report. Remember, that's these documents here. So 3 copies to sign. 52.4 states that you cannot sublease the property out without written consent from the landlord or from us. Now, if you should do that, if you manage to get extra rent or more than the rented amount to the landlord, that additional amount belongs to the landlord and you are to pay that to the landlord. That's what 52.4 points out. 53. Any personal information that we give you, we treat it very carefully. We understand the privacy rights of you and us and our landlords, but we can actually disclose it to tenancy databases if there's some type of issue, and you've already signed a waiver for that on your application form. Over the page, we're now on page 13 again. You are asked to pay your rent either on a Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday, not on any other day. That's term 54A. The next one that's important is 54C. At the beginning of this video I spoke about your ID number. That's very important that you actually put that ID number in any payment that you're doing over the internet, or if you're walking into a bank making a payment. Sometimes a tenant can leave that number out. When that happens, we've got no idea where that money's come from, so it gets receipted into an unknown deposit account. If we can't identify the person who's paid this money into the account, it gets sent off to the government and they keep it on your behalf. Now, the first thing that you might find out about is you might get a termination notice from us saying you're behind in your rent. If the money has been sent off to the government, it's not up to us to get it back, it's up to you to get your own money back. So what 54B says is that if you make an unknown deposit, we don't know whose money that is in a trust account and we found out it's you later, we can actually charge you $66 per hour to track down the owner of the money. So if you think that you may have made a mistake or you've left out the number when you've paid your rent, all you need to do is to send us an email to rentals@fusionrealty.com.au and we'll know that it's your money, because it's so uncommon these days. But we've put it in there just to make sure that everybody's paying attention when they pay their rent. 54D, that gives us Fusion Realty the right to charge you $75 if we have to come around and open up your property because you've locked yourself out. Locksmith these days, they cost about $180. Our time is important. We are not a door opening service. Make sure you look after your keys. 55. If you change any of your personal details, phone number, email, work number, mobile phone, you should notify us. Again, send us an email to rentals@fusionrealty.com.au. If you don't and you get behind in your rent, we may assume that you've abandoned the property. We'll place a letter under your door, and if we don't get a response, at that stage we're legally able to go into the property. To avoid this and embarrassment, we'd rather that you provide us with all your contact numbers so that if you do fall behind with your rent or there's some type of an emergency, we can call you first. Just on paying your rent. If you do not pay your rent on time, we're not going to send out reminder notices. The first thing you'll get from us will be a termination notice. Those termination notices are not recorded on our tenancy database for the first 2 to 3 times. On the bottom of the termination notice, it says to please give us a call. So should you get a termination notice, you should call our office to discuss the problem so we can work it out. 56. Every tenant in Australia, and particularly in New South Wales, has an obligation under health and safety to report anything that is unsafe in a property. So for example, if a balcony rail feels loose, you need to tell us. You cannot just assume that the landlord knows. If your property is unfit or in a dangerous state, you need to tell us. Don't automatically think we know everything about your property. It is the law, it is your responsibility to notify us. 57 talks in detail about rubbish recycling and disposal. I'm not going to go through that because every individual property is different. I would like you to read it in some detail so you understand what you need to do with your rubbish and recycling. 58 is the last additional term that I'm going to speak about. This states that you may only use the property for what you've rented it for, and that is as a residence, not for a laundrette, not for a takeaway food shop business, as a place to live. If there's any variances to this, you need to let us know immediately. The reasons why are fairly common sense. Water usage can go up. There's also insurance may not cover a takeaway restaurant in a residential block of units. This is the end of part 2. We're now up to page 14. Page 14 is the signature panel. This one has all the signatures already completed on it. What's important to note is this panel down here. You'll see that there's 2 signatures from the tenants who've completed this particular lease agreement. Those signatures are for the new tenant checklist, which is attached on page 15, and it consists of 2 pages. You might like to read those, but what's most important is that once you've read them, along with the other signature panels on this particular page, is that you sign to say that you've got a copy of them. You don't have to read them, you don't have to do anything, but they're there. You have to sign to say you've got a copy. Normally I will be signing there, or the real estate agent who's commencing the lease agreement will sign there on the landlord's behalf. If you're tenant 1, you will be signing there. If you're tenant 2, you'll be signing further down, and tenant 3 across over here. We will have a witness able to sign as a witness in the office when you come in to sign the lease agreement. So what else is in this lease agreement before you go? After those facts, you'll find there's a copy of the strata bylaws. Again, on page 2, we stated that you had a copy of these. Every lease agreement's got a copy of those. This is very important if you're in a townhouse or block of units. You can read those at your leisure and understand what your rights and obligations are in a strata title complex. Okay, that's the lease agreement completed. There's only one final document to sign. That's if you've signed the lease agreement and initialed each page. You've signed the bond form, and you've signed the 3 condition reports. The last one is an acknowledgement that you have been given keys, and we always get you to sign that on the back. So there's a photocopy of the keys, so you can see if the keys match here. If you return all those keys, then there won't be any additional charges when you vacate the property. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget that our website has most of the information that you might need, or during your tenancy, any questions you may have, or even pre-tenancy. Just have a good look there at our website through the tenant frequently asked questions. Thanks again for watching this video. I look forward for you to become a tenant of Fusion Realty and to meet the team. Thanks again. Bye for now.